Welcome to Gotta Run. This is Will Sanchez. Thank you for tuning in. This is a very, very special episode of Gotta Run for two reasons. One, it's my 200th episode. Unbelievable. Started this a little over 7 years, and here we are 200 episodes later. The second reason is we're honoring Bruce, the beloved dog of my guest. My guest tonight is Sheila Monaghan. She runs for the Henwood Hounds, and she is the editor-in-chief of Furthermore magazine, the digital magazine for Equinox fitness clubs. I am honored to have Sheila as a guest.
Thank you so much. Congratulations on your 200th show. That is remarkable.
It is. I'm doing a negative split. My second 100 show is a lot faster than my first.
That's what you want to do, right? You paced yourself through the beginning, and now you can cruise to the finish. And...
So I'm honored that you're here. And Sheila, as I mentioned before the show, the reason I know about you, I've had 3 of your comrades here. I think may have been Isan Smith first, Nicole Sinqui, and she goes by JC, Jessica Seabrack. And each of them, when they were on, they showed the same photo of the 4 of you. Yeah. I think you guys did a very special event in Ottawa, Canada.
We did,
so
yes.
Tell us about that event and your friendship with these 3 remarkable women.
Oh, yeah, they're the best. So that was 2013. We represented the United States at the Duathlon World Championships, which is an age group competition for which we all qualified in different venues. Actually, Isang and I both qualified out in Orange County, California. We were all members of the City Coach Multisport Club, coached by Jonathan Kane, the wonderful Jonathan Kane. And so it was just a phenomenal adventure. I mean, Jonathan Kane was coaching all of us in triathlon individually, and he said, you know, we have the opportunity, you guys have the opportunity to qualify probably pretty comfortably for the World Championships in duathlon. What do you say? And in years prior, it had been in pretty exotic locations. It had been in France, it had been in Spain, and so this year it was in Ottawa, Canada. So we're like, that seems manageable. It's a manageable trip. You know, traveling with a bicycle isn't the easiest things. And then the 4 of us made the trip up to Canada. It was so great. It was super fun. We were there for a couple days and had all of our pre-race meals together. We shared a hotel room, and we got to represent our country, which was amazing. I had never marched in a parade of nations before, so that was a first. Wearing the USA uniforms, flags, they had, in each country had a flag bearer, just sort of like the real thing on a much smaller scale. And I just remember thinking that I don't think it's going to get any better or cooler than this. So I love to look back at those photos. I remember it really fondly as one of my proudest moments. And being there with those 3 ladies who are each in their own right, not just phenomenal athletes, but really fun, wonderful people whom I've been lucky enough to meet. And Coach Kane and Steve, who's Jay-Z's husband, were our fantastic Sherpas all weekend, running around, getting our stuff. And they took the photographs. Yeah, Steve's a great
Some
guy.
of them were quite funny photographs, showing your backsides where they put your name on your butt.
Stamp your name on your bottom, and I think that's when you know that you've made it as a multi-sport athlete. It's like, if my name is plastered on my rear end, I made it.
Now, what is a duathlon?
3 legs. It's a run, bike, run. So for someone who's not a particularly strong swimmer, I include myself in that category. It's great. And they can have varying distance to qualify as Olympic. So there's a bit of variation in that definition. Ours, I believe, was a 10K, 40K bike, then 5K run at the end. I believe the shorter leg was...
Okay, and all 4 of you did the same thing?
We did, yes.
Okay.
And Nicole and I actually paced the first run leg together. We were neck and neck. She went on to win a medal. She's phenomenal. So I tried to, stick with her for that run leg at least, and then I, wished her well on the bike ride. I said, I'll eat your dust, but go get him.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. Before we continue, let's introduce you to our audience.
Sure.
Tell us where you were born and something about your growing up years.
Oh, gosh. I am from northern New Jersey, a town called Rivervale. I'm one of 8 kids, which is something.
8?
Yeah, I have 7 siblings.
They don't do that anymore.
They don't do that anymore. Good Irish Catholics that we are. We're a family. There's 7 girls and 1 boy in our family. And
oh my gosh,
yes,
1 boy.
A lot of them. He moved to Korea, if that's any indication of...
He moved to where?
To Korea.
Korea.
Yeah.
South Korea, obviously.
Yeah, South Korea. I'm an identical twin as well, which has been really fun. And growing up was wonderful. It was loud, it was busy, but there's always something going on. And my twin sister and I, and my younger sister, we are pretty, significantly younger than our older siblings. So, when we were little pipsqueaks, they had their driver's licenses. They would take us to the movies. They would take us to the park. Their boyfriends would come over, and we'd say, where are we going today? So it was so much fun. Holidays in our house to this day too. Now with the next generation, there's 13 nieces and nephews already.
Okay. Now, of all these kids, who was the best athlete?
I'm not going to name names, but no. So my older siblings they weren't really athletically inclined. They were thespians. They were in choir, which is so funny that myself and my twin and my younger sister sort of took a turn to be more towards athletics. And I think we attribute that basically, I think girls' sports became much more prevalent, I think, when we were growing up. You know, it wasn't sort of like, you know, there was boys baseball and like maybe there was the girls softball programs, the girls soccer teams.
Title IX in action.
Yeah, Title IX in action. Growing up recreationally, were a significant presence in our community. So it felt like it was just, you know, just as any little boy in the town would do that, we did. We also had 3 little boys who lived next door to us who we played with every single day, and they were super athletes. So we fell into it that way. And I think my parents were also incredibly supportive, and they loved that. They had, you know, girl athletes in the family too. So twin sister and younger sister and I have done marathons together now, and it's been such an amazing bonding experience for us. We did the New York City Marathon, 3 of us all together last year. And the year prior to that, I ran my younger sister's first marathon with her here in New York too. And we're already talking about which one we want to do next year together. So,
okay.
Yeah.
2017 was an off year?
2017 was just me. My sisters aren't so keen on the consecutive years as much as I am, but you know, my twin sister has 2 little girls. They're both lawyers. They're very busy. So, but I've already planted the seed for 2018, so we'll be out there together.
So you're the planner in the family too. Now, which college did you go to?
I went to the College of the Holy Cross in Worcester, Massachusetts, where I studied English. It's a liberal arts school, Jesuit school. So I knew, kind of growing up, my father's a lawyer, my mom is a teacher. She's a guidance counselor now. Most of my siblings are lawyers and teachers. My dad actually loves to tell this story. I got called for jury duty a few years ago. And, you know, you're in the jury box and the judge is asking you questions, interviewing you. And the judge said, you know, Sheila, tell me a little bit about yourself and your background. And I said, well, Judge, you know, I come from a family of lawyers. My father's a lawyer. 4 of my siblings are lawyers. And she said, well, what happened to you? And I said, I'm the smart one. And she said, you're dismissed. Thank you. And I walked down and said, bye, everyone. But I think the through line for all of our careers, we all love to write. So some of my siblings have chosen to express that through the law. Some of them do so as educators. And I knew I wanted to do something that heavily involved writing, almost in a creative sort of way. So publishing, I felt like the right step and right place for me.
Okay, so when you finished college, you went into the publishing field?
I did, yes. When magazines were a little less
glossy.
Yes, a little less.
Those glossy magazines.
The glossy magazines before the internet kind of swooped in and changed things. But yeah, my first job, I assisted the editor-in-chief of Child magazine, which was a high-end parenting magazine. Her name is Miriam Arend. She remains one of the loveliest ladies you'd ever want to meet. It was right around that time, too, that iconic Devil Wears Prada movie came out, if you saw it.
Yes.
Meryl Streep and Anne Hathaway. And I think people were sort of desperate to make comparisons to my job to that, but I did not have that experience at all. She was a lovely woman. She gave me my first writing opportunities. She let me, push me to grow in my job, and I'm very indebted to her. So I worked Child magazine for about a little over a year, and then I moved over to Self magazine at Condé Nast, where I worked for about 4.5 years in a couple of different editorial positions. It was at that point that I was sort of merging my love of extracurricular fitness with my career, and I started to be,
Condé Nast, I know they moved downtown?
Now they're at the Freedom Tower.
Okay.
At this point, they're at 4 Times Square.
Okay.
An iconic building in Times Square.
That's where you worked?
That's where I was, for a couple years there.
You were athletically inclined as well during those years?
Yeah, that was really when I got into running. I mean, so I moved to this, being an editorial assistant, being, a young kid in New York right after college, I needed something else besides work. It was sort of, you go from the top of the mountain as a college senior right back to the bottom as an assistant. And I was craving something that I could use as a way to challenge myself and grow and not have to wait for my career to take shape, that I could, really kind of push myself and see what I was capable of. And my first race that I ever did was during that time of being an assistant. It was a Coleman Race for the Cure. My mom is a breast cancer survivor. So, and I just remember signing up for the race and saying, I should do this. This would be a nice thing to do.
Huge race. I mean,
huge race.
Most people walk it. There's 3 miles.
Exactly. At that point, I ran the race, and no muss, no fuss. But a few weeks later, I got a medal in the mail, and they said, "Oh, you actually came in second place." And I said, I didn't even, again, weaving my way around the walkers, I didn't really know. So that was where I was like, maybe I'm onto something here. Maybe there's something here. So at that point, I was living on the Upper East Side of Manhattan, and it was still, and I'm sure you remember this time too, when the Roadrunners races were really kind of local, no big deal type of things. I would wake up on a Saturday, go up to Central Park, sign up, get my bib, do the race.
Just
that day, I would walk up, and I lived one of my apartments was on 95th between 5th and Madison, so it was right up the park there.
Wow.
And I would be back in bed under the covers before my roommates woke up. And I remember,
They never knew, huh?
Yeah.
That's fantastic. Yeah. But I know at some point you wound up at Nike Town, because I saw this photo of you with Stephen England and some other people.
Kayla Marino and
yes.
So yes, that was while I was at Condé Nast, there was a race series called the Media Challenge that took place on Tuesdays, and all different media groups would come into Central Park and do 2 lower loops. Then there'd be pizza. It was very low-key. Anyway, our team was called Condé Fast. And through the Condé Fast team, I met this woman named Betty Eng, and she was a Nike Town runner.
Right.
And she said, Sheila, if you like running, you should really be coming to Nike Town after work. There's runs most days of the week. There's pacers. It's a lot of fun. It's social. They have drinks and
food.
Yeah. And I said, okay, sure. So I started going to the Nike Town races, where I met the likes of the Stephen Englands and Stephen Beck and Kayla Marino and Frances LaRose and Lisa Stern, all my best pals. And it became like a second family very quickly to me.
Yeah.
We were together all week after work, and then Saturdays for our long runs, and we go to the diner afterwards.
That's right. That must have been before my time, because I saw that shirt you were wearing, Fight Like Hell. I didn't realize that was a Lance Armstrong event, because there was another one that I participated in, and that was called like Live Strong or something
the
like
Live
that.
Strong shirts,
Yes. So did you run with Lance when you did that race?
So that was interesting. That was right between Lance's he had finished cycling and he was going to triathlon, and he was still on his kind of like remaking his image campaign. And that was also when Nike Town had there was lots of celebrity type events going on there too at Run Club at any given time. So this run was advertised, Fight Like Hell. There was someone was holding a flag on and someone was gonna run next to Lance holding the flag. And so we're all like, oh, we got to go. Lance Armstrong's going to be at Nike Town. We got to be there. So we collect at the race. At Nike Town. We all get the shirts on. We're waiting. He was stuck in traffic. I don't know, whatever. He shows up about over an hour late to run the run with us. So we're like, okay, he's here. Now we get to run with Lance Armstrong. What are we going to say if we get to talk to him? Is anyone going to get to chat with him? He takes off sub 6-minute miles. Nobody could. A few guys were up in the front with him, but it was. None of us could hang.
My goodness.
So. But we got the T-shirt.
Got the T-shirt. Fight Like Hell. Yeah. Okay, well, a few years later, I guess, he was now preparing to do the New York City Marathon. His goal, of course, he had to do sub-3.
Of course.
So he was doing one of our training runs, and we got the yellow shirts. And I guess they finally got it all organized, because we got to see him at the atrium. Okay. You remember that little space next to Nike Town? He was there. This is, of course, way before any controversy.
Yes.
So he was a god.
Right. At that point, we also had the bracelets and everything.
Right. So, of course, I was back of the pack. But it was great to wear the shirts, and we went to a nice bar to have drinks and so forth.
Yeah.
So interesting, that we overlapped that way.
I know.
Eventually, you wound up at Equinox as its editor.
I did, yeah.
When did that happen?
Sure. So I was at Condé Nast at Self Magazine for about 4.5 years, and then I went over to Rodale, where I worked at Women's Health Magazine, which is a great publication, for a little over a year. And then I came back to Condé Nast to work at Details Magazine. So pretty telling of the sort of magazine landscape is that 3 of the 4 magazines I worked for no longer exist, unfortunately. But while I was at Details, which was a wonderful job, wonderful place, it was then where I sort of started to see the shift towards digital and realized, like, I better get hip to this soon, because this is where I think this is going. So a colleague of mine from Self Magazine, her name is Liz Mearsh, she's our executive managing director, was at Equinox, and she said, I came over to Equinox. They're launching a little content blog. At that point, it was called Q, and the CEO of Equinox was very forward thinking, where he said, I want to create content for the Equinox member. I think we can do it better than anybody else who's doing it out there, which is a very Equinox way of thinking. And it'll be 5 years this coming spring that I've been there. And we were Q for a few years, and then it started to sort of organically grow. The content we found that people were responding very well to the content. We were growing the audience organically really well. Almost 2 years ago, we decided to rebrand and sort of take a concerted step out, and that's when we became Furthermore.
So you went from a single letter to this long word, Furthermore.
To a compound word, right? Yeah. Also, one of the interesting sort of nuances of it is that you cannot own a single letter in social media. So we couldn't be Q on Twitter because it's just a letter. So that helped push us in that direction.
Okay.
Yes.
Furthermore.
Furthermore. Yeah.
I've been a member of the fitness club since 2001.
Oh, great.
So I remember Q. I've seen all the iterations, and of course, there's always a little bit of controversy with Equinox, particularly with the artwork.
Yes.
Were your department involved in that? The murals?
Sure. Our campaigns, the Equinox campaigns, are handled by the Equinox creative department. So we, Furthermore, exists in this kind of very interesting space in that we have this scrappy startup mentality, but we're housed within this wonderful established flush brand and company that is Equinox. So we, we have the same sort of ethos as Equinox in terms of they're very scientifically driven. They have the best experts in fitness in the world, but I would say they skew a little more provocative, whereas we're a little bit, I'd say we are tone that down a little bit on Furthermore.
Okay. Is that your influence?
Yeah, I think a little bit.
All right. Well, I mean, obviously a little controversy. The right one is very good because you get the publicity.
Sure, exactly.
And this is in Europe, because in Europe it wouldn't cause the big controversy was the woman holding her babies and being breastfed.
Yes, yeah.
As in America, that's like, what? They don't want to see that.
Yeah,
but that's very common in Europe.
Sure. Equinox pushes the envelope. They're known for doing that. They also, the photographers and creatives that they work for these campaigns are fashion folks, so they exist in those worlds where they're meant to push the envelope, and it got your attention, it gets people's attention, people talk about it, which is great. And
that's right.
I think the person that they're appealing to is someone who, understands that Equinox believes that they're not for everybody, and that's okay.
Absolutely. That's a good attitude. We're not for everybody.
Yes.
That's a good line. Okay, well, I'm a member, or subscriber, I should say, to Furthermore magazine, the digital. And what I love about it is you really have 3 or 4 stories, but there's always one headline, and then it catches you. I remember I saw something about avocados, and I love avocados. Yeah. And there's a story about, I forget what it was, maybe avocados can make you fat or something like that. And then when you click on it, but not only there's a story about avocado, there'll be 2 or 3 other stories. Yeah. It's interesting. Mm-hmm. And then I saw one where every time you click, you never know what you're going to get, because it'll be a story by one of the actresses on Orange is the New Black. Mm-hmm. I guess her fitness routine. Yeah. And then below that it'll be a recipe. Yes. And then there'll be another magazine, another section, another newsletter will do a story about backpacks. Yes. They're making a comeback. I use duffel bag, and I said,
you gotta get a backpack. It's good for your spreading the weight out, distributing the weight.
Been using a backpack for years. I still carry the duffel bag, and I said, oh, okay. Mm-hmm. And so the variety is very interesting. I said, well, somebody's working hard to curate these things. Yeah. That's your department?
That's my department, yes.
So what do? You get to approve them?
Yes.
Somebody says, we want to do these stories. You pick 3 out of 5, something like that?
We're a pretty small team, believe it or not. I mean, we put out the newsletter that you're referencing. We have 3 newsletters that go out. I'm sorry, 4 now. There's 3 editors on our team, so all that content is created. And we have 2. We have our creative director and our photo editor, and then myself, my deputy editor, and a food nutrition editor. And so we're a tiny team, but we're really working on increasing the cadence of our...
Highly productive.
Yeah.
I guess that's the power of the internet.
Yes,
and modern
absolutely.
software.
Oh my gosh.
That you can crank this thing out professionally looking. I mean, it's like, you couldn't do this 20 years ago with a budget under, $10 million.
I mean, we would take 4 months to produce a magazine. That was the production cycle on a print magazine. And the digital age has ushered in, it contributes to how much content there is that you can consume, and it has its upsides and its downsides naturally. But coming from a print background into digital, there's an immediacy of that. We have a great idea, we can be really nimble and respond to it and create something and get it up the next day if we like. Yeah, yeah. It also allows you to modify things if there's a mistake. It used to be we would ship the magazine and then you would sort of bite your nails for month or so, and the first bounds would come in, and you'd say, "Oh my gosh, I hope there's not a mistake. I hope there's not a mistake." And
the color came out right.
Yes,
and all
it didn't
that.
come out right, but now it's like there's a, if we read, the spelling mistake, you go to your desk, you fix it, it's fixed. So,
Well, that's interesting. Spell checking. That's I don't know if it ever happened to you guys, but there's always stories where a typo yet made it through, and people scratching. How did that get
people
through?
would lose sleep and weight over those mistakes in the background.
Gosh, you gotta have the right people that could find those. Yeah. Those people are golden.
Yes,
there are people that got that talent.
Yes, it's true.
They said, "Oh, this is perfect," and they click that here. They find that one mistake. Right. Or that keeps you up at night?
Not anymore, thankfully, since we have the ability to fix it. But back then, it was, the amount of content we're able to produce now. And furthermore, I would say, compared to other sort of websites that post more posts, to your point, like we plan our content a month out. So our stuff is well produced and produced over a long period of time, which I think is a differentiator for us. Yeah. But we're working on trying to increase the publishing cadence, because the way the internet works, the more you feed the machine, the more you benefit from it.
Yes,
you know what I mean? So
yes, and you also have preparing for today's show. I said, well, let me see what other things furthermore does. So I went to YouTube, and I said, oh my gosh, you got all these videos.
Yeah.
And of course, I sorted it by, high to low, and you got one video was 12 million hits.
Yes.
I said, 12 million hits. I look at it. I said, oh, it's a yoga.
Yes,
But this woman is doing yoga in her bedroom.
Yes.
Wearing a bra and panties.
Yes.
And the comments below, like hundreds of comments. I said, those are the most fascinating.
The comments, right?
Most of them were positive. He says, wow, this woman really knows her yoga position.
Phenomenally.
But they noticed that in the background, it was blurry, but it was obviously. It turns out it was her husband in the bedroom. Mm-hmm. I said, how does people know it was the husband? Because I read through it. I said, I'm fascinated about all these comments.
Yeah.
And I said, 12 million hits.
Yes. Yeah, our video production is something that I think differentiates us as well, but it's something we're super passionate about. And our CEO was a little reluctant to make videos at first, because he thought we were going to be making sort of exercise video, Jane Fonda sweating to the oldies type, and we said, no, we're gonna interpret this differently, and just in the way that Equinox uses fashion photographers for their campaigns, we work with directors who are in those fields too, and just using that as the lens through which we interpret fitness, whether it's talking about something that you would emulate or try to perform as in a yoga routine, or more of a kind of cultural moment. We've done a piece on urban running crews, and
that's right. I saw that one. After I saw that one, well, I'm not really into yoga, so I did running search, and I loved the one with Dave Seek, because I do precision running.
Oh, great!
I love that class.
Oh, cool!
And seeing him, he was amazing on the treadmill. He reminded me. I don't know if you remember Fred Astaire, the great dancer.
Yes.
He was dancing on that machine. I mean, he was practically making love to it, the way he was able to sidestep, go backwards.
Yes.
And he had all sorts of tips. Well, you can hang on, but if you really want to better exercise, you can, you have all sorts of tips.
So that shoot we shot that on the roof of the Andaz Hotel on 5th Avenue. It was November, it was very cold. He ran, that video was probably under 2 minutes maybe. Over the course of that shoot, I think he ran probably 13 miles in how many takes we did and how long he was running to get us those shots. And I'll never forget, he was such a trooper, but such a perfectionist too. He was, the shoot was going on so long, and we're like, David, aren't you getting hungry? Do you want something to eat? And he said, no, I don't want to get a cramp. I want to be able to finish the video and do a great job. And I think he had a single blueberry or something like that during over the course of the shoot. But then when we finished, we wrapped the shoot late at night, because we wanted, obviously it's set at night, and you see the sparkling lights of Times Square behind him. It's beautiful.
It's beautifully shot. However, it's nowhere near 12 million. So
we're working on it. It's hard to beat a girl in her underwear. I mean, this is the internet.
I mean, he is shirtless.
He is.
And he does have, great abs.
That's true.
That you kill for.
That's true.
Oh, I'm so glad that that's going so well for you, and yet you've got a great career there in Equinox. So in terms of your challenges, do you have anything athletically coming up that you're looking forward to?
I do, yes. So next year I signed up for my second Ironman. I'll be doing Mont Tremblant in August, so that'll be a big focus in 2018. I did my first in just a few weeks before I went to Ottawa with the girls out in Lake Placid. So I feel like year over year I've been thinking, is it time to do another? Am I ready to do that again? And I finally, this year I thought, I'm ready to do it again. So that'll be that's the big picture.
Let's bring up Bruce.
Thank you.
So I saw the lovely obituary you did about Bruce. He passed away a few months ago.
He did, yeah.
What's so fascinating about him was obviously pets bring great love, and he did. But I was shocked to read that one of your vets, or maybe more than one, told you to return him when you got him. Well, tell us the story.
Sure. So I adopted Bruce. He was 9 years old. I got him from a shelter in way upstate New York, Cuba, a town called Cuba outside Rochester.
Who knew there was a Cuba in New York?
Cuba, New York, right? I'm like, I got him in Cuba. He's Cuban. So we came back from Cuba, and it was a long drive back. And so I took him to the vet the next day, and he, upon being examined, you know, the first vet came out and she said, I really don't think you should have adopted this dog. He's not going to last, and if you can return him. And I said, return him? He's not a sweater, you know, he's a dog. I'm not going to. So I said, I want a second opinion. I took him to a second vet, and this vet said the same thing. You know, this dog has a heart condition. You know, sometimes when you adopt dogs from shelters, you really don't know what you're getting. This could be a very expensive, heart-wrenching process. I'd advise you to return this dog. And at that point I said, I'm already madly in love with him. It's done. You know, that's not going to happen. So I thankfully didn't listen to them, and I had 3 wonderful years with Bruce. And I would definitely encourage anybody who's interested in having a pet and adopting a dog to consider the adoption route, the shelter dog route. There's so many dogs that need homes, and it's, you know, adopting a senior dog for me was an intentional decision. At first I thought maybe I'll get a dog who'll be my running buddy. You know, we'll run around Hoboken all day long. And then the more I thought about it, I said, there's so many dogs in these shelters that have only a few years left, and people might not want them. And I thought, well, maybe I'll have a buddy for recovery, and he'll be my couch buddy, and we'll put our, you know, compression socks on and relax together. So that was the route I got. And then I saw Bruce on a video
Fell in love with him.
I fell in love with him.
And he fell in love with you.
I think so, yes.
Oh, I seen the photos.
Yeah.
He looked so happy
to
be adopted, to have a family.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for sharing this story with us.
Thank you for bringing him up. I appreciate it.
Oh, you know, our condolences. It's still fresh.
It is. Yeah, it's tough. I mean, I think pet people really understand that they're your family.
Yes.
You know, they're your family, and they're also part of your circadian rhythm. Walking them in the morning, walking them at night. You know, it's a big absence, but I wouldn't have done it any other way. You know, I don't regret it for a second. And they're just pure love. Dogs are just pure love.
They are.
Thank you.
So on that note of love, thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you, Will. Thanks for having me. And congratulations on your 200th episode. 100 more.